Nityanam cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana Hridayantosti apatrani vidunoti saraswatam Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, and verses 62 and 63. So, verse 62 Yatra spatika kudyeshu mahamarathetu shacha mani pradipa abhanti lalana ratna samyuta. Synonym Yatra, where spatika made of marble, kudeshu on walls, mahamarkateshu bedecked with valuable jewels like sapphires, cha also, mani pradipa lamps made of jewels, abanti shan, lalana female figures, ratna made of jewels, shantiya held by. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Vijaya. The palace of the king was surrounded by walls made of marble with many engravings made of valuable jewels like sapphires, which depicted beautiful women with shining jewel lamps in their hands. Purport: the description of King Uttanapad's palace depicts the state of affairs many hundreds and thousands of years ago, long before Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Since it is described that Maharaj Dhruva ruled for 36,000 years, he must have lived in the Sati Yuga when people lived for 100,000 years. The life duration in the four yugas are also mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Sati Yuga, people used to live for 100,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, people lived for 10,000 years. In Dwapar Yuga, they lived for 1,000 years. And in this age, Kali Yuga, people may live up to 100 years. With the progressive advance of each new yuga, the duration of human life is reduced by 90%, from 100,000 to 10,000, from 10,000 to 1,000, and from 1,000 to 100. It is said that Dhruva Maharaj was the great grandson of Lord Brahma. This indicates that Dhruva Maharaj's time was in the Sati Yuga, in the beginning of creation. During one day of Lord Brahma, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are many Sati Yugas. According to the Vedic calculation, at the present moment, the 28th millennium is correct. It can be calculated that Dhruva Maharaj lived many millions of years ago, but the description of the palace of Dhruva's father is so glorious that we cannot accept that advanced human civilization did not exist years ago. There were walls like those in the palace of Maharaj Uttanapad even very recently, during the Mughal period. Anyone who has seen the Red Fort in Delhi must have marked that the walls are made of marble and were once decorated with jewels. During the British period, of all these jewels were taken away and dispatched to the British Museum. The conception of worldly opulence, if you can scroll down, Prabhu. The conception of worldly opulence was formerly based on natural resources such as jewels, marble, silk, ivory, gold, and silver. The advancement of economic development was not based on big motor cars. Advancement of human civilization depends not on industrial enterprises but on possessions of natural wealth and natural food, which is all supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we may save time for self-realization and success in the human form of body. Another aspect of this verse is that Dhruva Maharaj's father, Uttanapad, would very soon give up attachment for his palaces and would go to the forest for self-realization. From the description of Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, we can make a very thorough comparative study of modern civilization and the civilization of mankind in the other millenniums, Sati Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga. Text 63. Udyanani charamyani vichitrair amaradunai pujad vihanga mithuner gayan matta madurvate. Synonym: Udyani, gardens, Cha, also, Ramyani, very beautiful. Vichitrai, various. Amara, Drume, with trees bought from the heavenly planets. Kujat, singing. Vihanga, of birds. Mithune, with pairs. Gayatham, Matta, mad. Madhuvrite, with bumblebees. Translation: the king's residence was surrounded by gardens wherein there were varieties of trees brought from the heavenly planets. In those trees, there were pairs of sweetly singing birds and almost mad bumblebees, which made a very relishing buzzing sound. Purport: in this verse, the word Amara Drume, with trees brought from the heavenly planets, is very significant. The heavenly planets are known as Amaraloka, the planets where death is very much delayed, because the people there live for 10,000 years, according to the calculation of the demigods, in which our 6 months are equal to 1 day. The demigods live in the heavenly planets for months, years, and 10,000s of years, according to demigod time, and then again, after the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down to this earth. These are the statements that can be collected from Vedic literature. As the people there live for 10,000 years, so also do the trees. Of course, here on this earth, there are many trees which live for 10,000 years. So, what to speak of the tree on the heavenly planets? They must live for more than many 10,000s of years, and sometimes, as practiced even now, some valuable trees are taken from one place to another. It is elsewhere stated that when Lord Krishna went to the heavenly planets with his wife Satyabhama, he took a parijata flower tree from heaven and brought it to the earth. There was a fight between Krishna and the demigods due to the parijata trees being taken from heaven to this planet. The parijata was planted in the palace of Lord Krishna, which was occupied by Queen Satyabhama. The flower and fruit trees in the heavenly planets are superior, for they are very pleasant and peaceful. And it appears that in the palace of Maharaj Uttanapa, there were many varieties of such trees. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Maha Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to read from Srimad Bhagavatam this morning for my own purification. And please forgive me if I add any of my own interpretation. So this section is really Dhruva Maharaj is returning home. And starting from this verse or even yesterday's verse, we are looking at the description of the palace of Uttanapad. That's the description given in these verses. So we may wonder, right, how come all this description was not given earlier when Dhruva Maharaj was trying to sit on his father's lap? It was the same palace, remember? But none of that was described. It was only the focus was on Dhruva Maharaj and how he was upset and how the whole incident happened, and he runs to his mother, and everything was surrounded over Dhruva Maharaj. The palace was the same, but there was never a much description of it. So now, how come we are giving so much Srimad Bhagavatam is emphasizing about all of these descriptions? Because now the focus has changed. The spotlight is on Dhruva Maharaj. So if we can see, right, in Srimad Bhagavatam, all along, the focus is on Krishna and Krishna's devotees, right? All along. In Canto 1, earlier also when the description is given about when Krishna is leaving Hastinapur and he's returning to Dwarka. Do you remember that? So much description was given about how all of those residents of Dwarka were preparing for Lord Krishna's arrival, and so much details, everything was given in there. So there also we will wonder, right? How come so much description is given? Even remember Canto 3 when we read about Lord Kapila and Devahuti, when Devahuti was preparing and she took, all the description was given about the plane that was boarded, and even how Devahuti was prepared. If you can remember all those descriptions, so much detailed description is given about all of that. So we must start to wonder, right? Why so much description? Even, I mean, all along we are trying to focus on Krishna and the devotional service, and how come there is so much focus on all of this? It's because anytime we are describing about Krishna or Krishna's devotees, and then everything is just zoomed, and then everything becomes so much value then, because now it is connected with the devotee. Like here, right? When Dhruva Maharaj is returning home, it was a stay in palace, but now it is going to be Dhruva Maharaj. He is going to take over, and also towards the end of the purport, it is said that now King Uttanapad is getting ready to leave, and then Dhruva Maharaj will be taking over ownership of of all of the palace and all of the kingdom and everything. So just wanted to bring that perspective, right? How it happens. And then the second thing is also so important is that this is a question that was also asked, when we went for Haridwar Yatra, right? Because usually if you see, right, within our ISKCON movement or Vaishnava tradition and all, usually when we do yatras, we usually go to like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, or the places that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken visit to South India, things like that. So then the question was like, how come Haridwar? Like, usually Haridwar is not really mentioned so much. I know that Mahaprabhu did go to Gaya with the, when for his father's last rites. He did do that, but usually it's not like a very popular place that we hear ISKCON devotees go to. So basically, what Maharaj was replying is that we have to take the full picture, right? Whenever we think about Krishna, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, the question is asked, why are we describing so many other things? Why can we just hear about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, right? But when we think about Krishna, we have to look at the full picture, everything. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everything comes from Krishna. All the opulences, everything comes from Krishna. So when we hear about this, even when we hear about his description of the material creation and all of that, it seems like a very hard philosophy. So much dry philosophy, sometimes it feels like it, but we still have to learn, we have to understand, because everything belongs to Krishna. Similarly, here, when we are talking about all these opulences, so we have to know that everything comes from Krishna, and Krishna is also Sachit Ananda Vigraha, right? We know that from Brahma Samhita. So knowledge, eternity, and bliss. When we talk about Ananda, the supreme most pleasure, that also comes from him. So here also the description is given about how the demigods, everything that is in the heavenly planets is so much more superior, so much more higher quality. They live longer. The the trees, everything is so much more tasteful, and this and that and everything. But ultimately, what is it that we are all desiring for, honestly, right? If you think about it, we are all seeking pleasure. We are all seeking pleasure because we are a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As I said earlier, Supreme Lord is Sachit Ananda Vigraha. He is, everything originates from him. And being a part and parcel of him, we are also seeking that same thing. We are seeking pleasure. We are seeking love. And that is what we are all hankering for. Only thing is that we are seeking this love and pleasure in the wrong place, because we are going for temporary pleasure, thinking that we will be satisfied in this life with whatever. Maybe it is title, maybe it is a position, maybe it is satisfaction with so many other things, indulging in so many other things. As you can see that those, even here, right, in this world too, like especially America, we know that it is topmost known for all that self-indulgence and pleasure and everything else, it's like even if you're like 70, 80, there is still no end. It is still like the place of pleasure. What else can I do to utilize all the resources so I can be happy? That's really the ultimate goal. But here, the focus is that we have to understand that all of this is there, but however, our attitude that is that it's really not selfish pleasures that you should be seeking for, but rather focus on the pleasure of the Lord. And all of these opulences and everything, we don't say no to it, right? You know that there are so many devotees that are so opulent. So especially Amrish Prabhu, I think everybody knows that he's the one who's leading the whole Mayapur temple project, grandson of Ford. So much opulence, so much wealth. However, he's setting such a good example by utilizing everything in Krishna service. So like that, even for us, right? It is clearly said that we don't do markat vairagya, like artificially renounce something. If we have opulence, if Krishna is giving us wealth, Krishna is giving us all of this, we could utilize all of it but dedicate everything to Krishna's service. So, really, in a nutshell, just to wrap it up, just from reading all of this, the two things that came to mind was first to understand that Krishna is the source of everything. And so, all these opulences, everything is coming from Krishna. And then, as living entities, as we are part and parcel of the Lord, we are also pleasure seeking. However, it is important to know that our pleasure is everything that we see in this world is temporary, and the utmost pleasure is the spiritual pleasure, transcendental pleasure, and that comes from serving the Supreme Lord. And the third important point is that there is no point in artificial renunciation. It is okay to have wealth, it is okay to have opulences, but however, the important part is that we dovetail, we bring everything in the service of the Lord, so that none of this is belonging to us, but rather everything is in for Krishna's pleasure. With that, I would like to end again. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavya